The wealthy family just arrived at the SOS orphanage to find me. Fake Ashley on the other side started acting crazy, threatening to jump off the building and commit suicide. I gritted my teeth, straining to save her, unexpectedly causing myself to fall and become paralyzed for life. Before I died, I heard her whispering laughter in my ear. Suicide? I was just acting for you to see. Lucky you actually believed it. Suddenly, I jolted awake, finding myself back when she was putting on her act, about to jump. Sister, you found your parents, but I'm all alone. I'd rather die. I sneered, releasing the hand I was holding. Here's a lifetime paralysis for you. No need to thank me. On the rooftop of the SOS orphanage, the wind was so strong it felt like it could blow me away. Fake Ashley, Lily, stood on the ledge, teetering, looking like she could shatter into pieces at any moment. My biological parents had just arrived to find me, along with other children from the orphanage, crowding at the rooftop entrance. Lily, don't jump. Don't do anything foolish. Come down here. My biological parents were yelling themselves hoarse from behind, wanting to approach, but Lily automatically rejected everyone who came closer, except for me. According to theory, I should approach her and find a way to pull her down. But at this moment, the wind was like knives cutting my face, and I finally sobered up, realizing I had been reborn. In my past life, I was buried right on this rooftop on this very day. In my past life, I returned to the orphanage to visit my foster mother, the matron, and coincidentally met my biological parents who came to take me home. They brought Lily along, initially wanting me and her to bond. But Lily's jealousy was extreme. She intentionally fell several times and blamed me for pushing her. People at the orphanage couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up for me, and she started wailing and rushed up to the rooftop. Now she was saying the exact same words as in my past life. Sister, I know I stole your happy life of 18 years, making you live in this miserable place. She gave a desolate laugh, her feet shifting outwards, scaring everyone present. 1,000 wrongs, 10,000 wrongs, it's all Lily's fault. Sister, please don't blame Mom and Dad. You've found your parents, but I'm all alone. I'd rather die and return everything that belongs to you. I smiled, looking at her. If you're saying you're returning everything to me, why are you still holding onto the railing so tightly? Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, Lily continued, Sister, I'm jumping, okay? I was really speechless. I still had to play along with her, or else, if the rescue team arrived later, she wouldn't be able to jump even if she wanted to. Lily, what are you talking about? Before I could even use force, she had already tightly gripped the down jacket I was wearing. Sister, don't touch me. It's my fault. I'm really sorry to you. She sneered inwardly, regretting why she hadn't seen through this cheap trick in her past life. In my past life, I rushed out to pull her up, but she skillfully used the force to throw me down. I fell from the 4th floor, broke my spine, and became paralyzed for life. When I was lying paralyzed in bed, Lily revealed the truth to me: suicide. I was just acting for you to see. Lucky you actually believed it. As soon as I heard that, I was so angry that my blood pressure soared. But even though it soared, my body still couldn't move, only hearing the beeping sound of the medical equipment next to my bed, announcing danger. I was pushed back and forth between the ward and the emergency room. Finally, the doctor announced that my emotional index was too unbalanced, causing cerebral hemorrhage and brain death beyond saving. However, when I was pushed into the morgue, I was clearly still alive. Hell is empty, devils are in the world, and the devil crawling out of hell, that's me. I'm back to find you. This life, I deliberately dragged out the time, watching Lily, who didn't move for a long time, her toes retreating, calculating one last time when she would act. After a few breaths, I laughed heartily, then released my hands that were tightly gripping hers. My dear sister, then you just go in peace. After saying that, I grabbed my down jacket and tore it hard, flying downwards. Besides the piece of down jacket, there was also Lily. Indeed, beautiful people are different. Even falling is beautiful. I watched her arms flail in the air, unable to grab anything. On my side, I was straining my neck to put on a show while leisurely counting down in my mind. 3, A muffled thud, the screaming echoed in my eardrums, but why was my parents crying so loud? I closed my eyes, choosing a comfortable posture to fall. Amidst the screams and wails echoing everywhere, I heard the matron shout, "Quick, save Claire." Dear foster mother, the matron, just in time to catch me as I was teetering, about to fall. Of course, I wouldn't actually fall. I conveniently fainted in her arms. The next time I woke up, I was already in the hospital. Simply put, I still couldn't get used to the smell of disinfectant. I weakly opened my eyes. Next to me was just a woman bowing her head, wiping tears. "Auntie," that woman hurriedly leaned closer, her eyes swollen from crying. "Claire, no, I'm your mother. Do you remember Mom?" My eyes suddenly turned red. Of course, I remembered, in my past life, after I was paralyzed, Mom gently wiped my body for me. My mother quietly moved my limbs under the blanket, crying even louder. Luckily, my body wasn't paralyzed. After we cried and sobbed for a while, I pretended to be horrified and jumped up. "Mom, where's Lily?" "I remember she fell from a high place, Mom. I just came back. Did Lily jump? Or should I just stay at the orphanage, Mom?" My biological mother hugged me in her arms, resting her chin on the top of my head, rubbing back and forth, comforting. "Claire, don't talk nonsense. Lily's situation isn't good. She needs someone to look after her. Your dad has gone over there to watch over. This matter has nothing to do with you." I kept begging and pleading for a while, and finally, my mother brought me to Lily's hospital room. Before going in, she kept reminding me, "You need to prepare yourself mentally first. Don't be scared." Lily's entire body was wrapped tightly in bandages, like a mummy, with only a few holes for her nose, mouth, and eyes exposed. Behind her head, faint bloodstains could be seen. Even though I was mentally prepared, seeing her still made me take a breath of cold air. So, in my past life, I looked like a ghost like this too. "Mom, when will Lily wake up?" "The doctor said it depends on how things go tomorrow." While we were talking, my biological father and the doctor also rushed in. I looked carefully. This was the doctor who pronounced me dead in my past life. The patient's condition is still in a dangerous phase. The patient's family should talk to her more, encourage her. If she still doesn't wake up tomorrow, she's very likely to fall into a vegetative state. My parents looked at each other, my tall biological father, even his eyes were red. "I understand," he said. "After all, we've raised her for over a decade. Feelings are still there." However, that wasn't important. I would personally crush the feelings between these three people bit by bit until the very last moment, until not even a fragment remained. The three of us sat in the hospital room. My mother kept wiping her tears. "This child, Lily, is really too impulsive. Mom and Dad have promised again and again to continue treating her well. Why did she still jump? Claire, before she jumped, did she say anything to you? Mom saw you hugging her tightly, weren't you?" I was just blaming myself for not speaking up. I lowered my head. "Lily said she stole Mom and Dad for over a decade. Now she's returning you to me. She also asked why I came back. If I hadn't come back, these things would never have happened." My parents looked at each other in shock. "She really said that?" I nodded, big teardrops falling onto my faded jeans with my movement. My mother's crying stopped, only my sobs remained, occasionally hiccuping. But what surprised me was that both of them understood and were understanding of this very quickly. Lily knows she's not Mom and Dad's biological daughter, so she was temporarily emotionally unstable, thinking desperately. It's understandable. Feelings of over a decade are indeed not easily destroyed like that. Therefore, I spoke again. "Mom and Dad. Actually, Lily at the end. I persuaded her already. She didn't want to jump anymore." "Then why?" In my parents' frightened eyes, I hesitantly raised my down jacket, which was now only half left. At that time, Lily jumped. I pulled and pulled but couldn't pull her up. The wind was too strong. I called for Mom and Dad, but no one heard me. Then she grabbed my jacket, wanting to lean up, but the quality of my clothes wasn't good, so it tore. This time, I clearly saw the heartache flash across my parents' eyes. My dad bought me clothes 2 sizes too big, jeans washed to fade, only wearing a thin, old down jacket. At a glance, you could tell it had been worn repeatedly, perhaps not just by one person. My mother's voice was full of tears. "My dear, Mom and Dad are sorry to you. It's okay. Back then I was kidnapped. It wasn't your fault. But now I'm back. If you feel sorry, then do your best to make up for it." A day passed as quickly as a dog running in the fields. Lily still showed no sign of waking up. I was even more anxious than my parents. I had worked so hard to be reborn. What was the point of letting her lie quietly in bed? Like a cat toying with a mouse, it had to be tormented to the end. So, I deliberately pushed my parents out, staying alone to watch over Lily. Her whole body was wrapped in bandages. Even if I wanted to get physical, there was nowhere to touch. Oh dear, I leaned in close to Lily's ear. "Still not awake? Is it not stimulating enough? Lily, do you know? You have more than 10 fractures in your body. Heard they had to put in several steel rods into your legs. That's the most serious. The doctor said there's no guarantee whether you can stand again or not." I stared at Lily for a while, catching her eyelid twitching. I chuckled softly. "Can you hear me? Tell me, why don't you just die? Die cleanly, wouldn't that be better? Now you're suffering, lying here, neither alive nor dead. From now on, looks like you can only lie here with your eyes open, watching Mom and Dad love me. And also, when you fell, I deliberately let you fall." As soon as I mentioned fall, Lily suddenly opened her eyes wide. Don't say a mummy suddenly opened its eyes. It really scared people to death. I exaggeratedly clutched my chest, taking a few steps back. "Lily, you finally woke up. Doctor, my sister's awake." I turned to the door of the hospital room and shouted, then took the opportunity to use the front camera of my phone for Lily to see her ghostly, neither ghost nor human appearance. Her pupils gradually dilated, unable to scream. She could only breathe heavily. You. Lily couldn't open her mouth wide, speaking faintly. Standing between us, the doctor even leaned in to ask, "Lily, what did you say?" "The patient's condition is a bit unstable, blood pressure and heart rate are rising. Where are the sedatives?" I coldly smiled, stepping back into the crowd. "So angry? Lily, this is just the beginning." Lily fully woke up. My parents, afraid that I would stimulate her again, requested that I wait until she was about to recover before I could visit. During that time, I enjoyed peaceful happiness at home. Now I knew, winter could also be spent in shorts and short sleeves indoors, because my home had a floor heating system. The down jackets were also very fragrant, unlike the down jackets I used to wear at the orphanage, which reeked of urine. The day Lily was discharged from the hospital, my parents arrived at the hospital early. It wasn't until noon that Uncle Driver brought me to the hospital. In just half a month, Lily had become a different person. She sat in a wheelchair, so thin she was like a paper doll, her whole body covered in bruises, and there was still an unhealed graze on her right cheek. "Lily," I gently called out to her. Lily, who was originally listless, looking lost, after seeing me, her soul seemed to return to her body, her eyes widening as she stared at me, her hands reaching out, wanting to pounce on me. "I must kill you. I must kill you." But the wheelchair was being pushed by my father. How could she possibly reach me? On the contrary, she almost fell out of the wheelchair. Luckily, I caught her. "Don't be so agitated, Lily. Be careful. You already have injuries on your face. What if you hit your head on the ground?" Lily grabbed onto me. I deliberately didn't dodge, letting her use all her strength to pinch me. "Mom, Dad." "It's her. She pushed me down." Lily's face contorted as she complained to my parents. My parents frowned silently. "Lily, what are you doing?" Dad forcefully brushed off Lily's hand that was pinching me. My hand was scratched by her. My mother lovingly rubbed my hand a few times in a hidden corner. Where my parents couldn't see, I looked towards Lily and smirked. Only now did she notice the clothes on my body. "Mom, Dad, look at her. She just wants to drive me away. You have so many clothes at the orphanage. Why are you wearing my clothes when you come back? These are my newly bought clothes. I haven't even worn them yet. Take them off and return them to me. Facing Lily's roar, I shrank back, pretending to be flustered. In front of my parents' witnesses, I panicked and took off my coat. Sorry, I didn't know you valued the set of clothes so much. I was in a hurry to leave, so I just grabbed whatever was handy. Perhaps seeing that my parents weren't saying anything, Lily still continued, unwilling to let me off. People passing by in the hospital lobby stopped to watch the commotion for a long time. Finally, my father couldn't bear it anymore and roared, "Enough." Lily was startled by the shout. "You didn't even thank Claire for coming all the way here to pick you up, yet you're crying and yelling over a set of clothes. What kind of behavior is that? These past few days, Mom and Dad have indulged you too much. You ran up to the rooftop yourself. Even Claire had to run up to pull you up. How can you twist black into white and say she pushed you?" My mother didn't say anything, but her action of protecting me behind her back said everything. Lily was stunned, tears still lingering on her face. Looking at this demeanor, it must be the first time she had been scolded so loudly. I even thought she would be mentally defeated, but fortunately, she admitted her mistake quickly, even offering to let me help her push the wheelchair. My parents' anger subsided a little, and at the same time, they comforted her. "As long as you're well-behaved, you'll always be the precious gem of the Lee family." I chuckled. She wanted to be the only precious gem of the Lee family? Too bad, I was back. I slowly pushed her, lagging behind, deliberately giving her a chance to speak. "You bitch, I heard everything you said. If you dare, repeat those words to Mom and Dad. Let's see." Laughing to death. "Do I look as stupid as you?" Lily gritted her teeth, choking for a moment before continuing. "You heard it just now. I'm still the darling daughter of the Lee family. As long as I'm in this house for one day, don't even think about having a peaceful day." I curled my lips, so when you're in a weak position and go crazy, others just find it funny. "What are you laughing at?" I cleared my throat. "Nothing. You just waltz over here, huh?" "No, I should say, you will over here." Lily was so angry she almost fainted. She gnashed her teeth, her face twisted and distorted. I pointed at her face, kindly reminding, "Don't gnash your teeth anymore. The wound on your face is bleeding again." I wasn't wrong. The wound on her face was cracking, bleeding, really ugly to the point of being eye-watering. After returning home, Lily did indeed restrain herself. My parents stayed home to watch over us for a week, then returned to the company to work, leaving only the two of us at home in a tense standoff. She knocked on my door, and when I opened it, she intentionally splashed a glass of milk in my face. I was stunned for a moment, seeing Lily sneering at me. "Clearly, what are you looking at me for? Want a tattle? Too bad, Mom and Dad aren't home." Realizing the thing on my face was cow's milk, I licked my lips. This movement seemed to make Lily nauseous. She pouted. "You're perverted." "Perverted? Lily, do you know how many people in this world have never drunk cow's milk from childhood to adulthood? You enjoy everything in the Lee family in my place, that's fine, but you actually waste these good things in front of Mom and Dad." I pondered, then nodded. Then, taking advantage of her unpreparedness, I stepped on the rear wheellock of her wheelchair. Lily had no idea. She was still laughing at the fact that I had never drunk milk before. "Really? Ha ha ha, clearly, this low-quality cow's milk. I only use it for bathing, ha ha ha." Lily's wheelchair suddenly rolled down from the second floor. Good heavens. I only pushed her to the top of the stairs. It was her who insisted on buying the most expensive wheelchair, saying it was convenient for movement. Now see, the most expensive wheelchair's brakes were even easier for me to tamper with. Lily tumbled out of the wheelchair, rolled 2 times, then hit the corner of the stairs hard and fainted. Well, she didn't faint. Her temple only bled a little. "Police. I'm calling the police." She dragged her paralyzed legs to the living room, then called the police. "I want to report to the police. Clearly wants to murder me." My parents rushed to the police station in a panic. Lily was sitting next to the police officer while I was squatting in the corner of the wall. As soon as my parents stepped in, They rushed straight to the corner of the wall where I was sitting. "What happened, dear?" "My parents had just gone out for a short while. How did we end up at the police station?" My parents pulled me up, checking me over. Not letting Lily speak first, I preemptively spoke, intentionally saying, "Mom and Dad, I want to go back to the orphanage. Although I'm grown up now, it's time for me to leave the orphanage." But I just deliberately said these words. Sure enough, as soon as the police officer heard the words orphanage, he straightened up, anxiously inquiring about the situation, even suspecting whether I was being abused at the Lee family. I put on a face of unspoken suffering, looked at Lily, only shaking my head, not wanting to say much, but this movement made Lily laugh in anger. "Clearly, what are you pretending for? It was clearly you who pushed me down the stairs. You want to murder me. Even if you want to drive me away, you don't need to twist black into white like this." I said nothing, only sighed. My parents' faces darkened, and they had to turn to explain the situation to the police, finally saying, "This is a family dispute. We'll resolve it ourselves when we get home. This daughter of mine just jumped off a building to commit suicide. Her brain hasn't fully recovered yet." The police officer glanced between me and Lily, finally standing in front of me. "Student Claire, if you feel uncomfortable at your new home, wanting to go back to the orphanage, just come here to find us. We won't allow vulnerable people to be bullied." I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes. If I had met this police officer in my past life, wouldn't that have been wonderful? At the same time, Lily on the other side let out a tragic scream. "Officer. Officer. I told everyone I'm the victim. She wants to murder me." My father pushed Lily's wheelchair away first. I lowered my eyes, hiding the smile I was about to burst out with at the corner of my mouth. "Lily, how does it taste to not be believed by anyone? The days of me being the knife and you being the fish are still waiting behind you, acting up and reporting to the police." Lily's chaotic police report angered my parents. When we got home, she couldn't avoid being scolded. "Today's matter is absolutely forbidden to be mentioned outside. If it gets out, what will others think of our family? We just went out for a while, and you started making trouble. Lily, since when have you become like this?" In my parents' disappointed eyes, Lily almost collapsed. She used strength to hit her paralyzed legs hard. "Parents are biased. Parents only favor your biological daughter. I've said it all. It was clearly who deliberately pushed me down. Why don't parents believe me? I've become a ghost like this. Can I still roll down myself?" My mother was so angry that her hands were trembling. "You can still act innocent. Do you think Mom and Dad don't know you intentionally jumped off the building for us to see?" The three of them argued fiercely. Lily still stubbornly insisted she was right. Finally, Dad slapped her. The corner of Lily's mouth bled, turning her head. The depths of her eyes were stained with hatred. "I raised you for so many years. Turned out I raised a venomous snake." It was my turn to go on stage. I pursed my lips, pulling my father's hand. "Dad, don't blame sister." Today, as soon as Dad left, she splashed cow's milk in my face. Then, probably because she was in a bad mood, she was careless and, "It's not like that," Lily shouted. Mother looked over, probably having seen the milk stains still remaining in front of my room. She looked at Dad, shaking her head, disappointment written all over her face. After a moment of silence, Dad continued, "The son of the Kevin family is about to return. You wait at home for a few more days, wait for him to come back, then you go over there to cultivate feelings with him, then the two of you get married." Get married? There seemed to be something I didn't know here. It turned out Kevin and Lily had been engaged a long time ago due to the relationship between the two families. This year was Kevin's first year abroad. Temporarily don't know about Lily's matter. "Mom, now Lily has become like this. Will Kevin cancel the engagement?" My mother chuckled softly, smoothing my hair, saying all sorts of complicated things that I didn't understand. Even if Kevin wants to cancel the engagement, the Kevin family won't agree. That night, Mom slept with me. When sleeping in the middle of the night, I dreamed again about what happened in my past life. In the dream, Lily's smiling, vicious face kept zooming in, zooming in, zooming in front of my face. I was like being nailed to the wall, wanting to run but unable to move at all. Ah! I startled awake. Mom immediately reached out to touch my hand. What's wrong? Having a nightmare? I panted, taking a while to distinguish between dream and reality. In my past life, I lived under Lily's shadow for 3 full years before I could die. Even if I was reborn, the ghost still remained. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Mom comforted me, like coaxing a child. The next day, when I got out of bed, I heard my father talking on the phone. I was about to say something when my mother winked at me. Lily was still sitting in the wheelchair, both tense and uneasy. Kevin, what did he say? After hanging up the phone, my father said in a deep voice, Dad didn't tell him specifically what happened to you, only said there was a problem with your legs. Kevin will take the night flight to return. This time, Lily didn't bother to pay attention to me, only touching her face, looking towards Mom. Mom, can you help me book an appointment with the doctor and makeup artist for tomorrow morning? The next day, Kevin rushed over. When he saw Lily, he was so shocked his face paled. Lily, what happened to your legs? I leaned over, standing beside them, enjoying this touching scene that would move others to tears. Lily, with tears in her eyes, looked at him, looking like she was about to cry. Of course, if this appearance was placed on her face before, it would indeed be delicate and frail, but the wounds on her face hadn't healed, plus there were new wounds on her head. Crying really made one want to vomit. Kevin stood 2 steps away from her, finally letting my father pat him lightly on the shoulder. Lily's mood isn't very stable. You go up and comfort her. Seeing with one's eyes, Kevin's footsteps forward were a bit reluctant, but Lily hadn't noticed, still burying her head in Kevin's chest, crying and recounting her grievances during this period. Let's go outside first. Let Lily and Kevin talk freely. We made way for the young lovers. It wasn't until an hour later that we returned home. But luckily, Kevin indeed didn't mention canceling the engagement, only after returning. His eyes looking towards me were clearly not very friendly. In the following days, Kevin frequently took Lily out to play. My parents were very pleased to see this. Kevin is a good child, the business on the Kevin family side. You should take a look and give them something. My father nodded in agreement immediately, without saying much. I sipped a mouthful of tea, hiding the smile on my lips. A week later, Lily invited me to go on a road trip by car. She intimately held my arm, as if the things that happened before had never happened. Parents, Kevin, after returning, has clearly spoken to me. I really shouldn't have treated my sister like that. Kevin said, wait for a short while longer, and he'll marry me home. Today, we want to drive out for a road trip, then go to the beach to eat barbecue. Parents, can sister come with us? Lily's eyes sparkled, from the corner of her eyebrows to the corners of her eyes, all filled with joy. Sister, are you willing to go out to play with me? Give me a chance to say sorry to you, okay? I reached back and held Lily's arm. Okay, of course I'm going. I wouldn't go. How could her drama continue? Kevin drove us to the beach. On the surface, Kevin indeed loved Lily to the heavens. When Lily's legs were crippled, Kevin would carry her on his back, strolling on the beach. Clearly, are you jealous? Lily hugged Kevin's neck, happily pressing her cheek against his face. Sister, tell me, isn't this like fortune in misfortune? Injured and lost my legs, but my fiancé loves me even more. Sister, I still have to thank you. Without you, I'm afraid I wouldn't know what love is stronger than gold. I scoffed, but when Lily was about to yell, Kevin had already carried her to the side. Sweetheart, why are you bothering to talk to her? I watched their backs, suddenly a bit curious. People say snakes and rats share a hole, so in the end, which is more venomous, the snake or the rat? At dusk, we went into the beachside cabin. I prepared ingredients for barbecue, completely ignoring the vicious gaze staring at me from behind. Kevin, I'm a bit cold. Let's eat barbecue indoors? Burning charcoal indoors. Lily thought everyone was as brainless as her. I chuckled, hearing Kevin gently reply, okay. Behind us, Lily had prepared a lot of charcoal, and even used the excuse of being cold to tell Kevin to burn it all. The wooden cabin had no air vents. In no time, the charcoal was billowing smoke. It was choking and suffocating, but I still endured it. I wanted to see what step Lily could ultimately take. Sure enough, before long, she and Kevin exchanged glances, then shouted, "Let's go to the car to get drinks." Before leaving, Lily even intended to close the door. I flipped a chicken wing, casually saying, "Don't close the door, I'm not cold." "Lily, doing so will cause carbon monoxide poisoning." But Lily faintly smiled. Paired with her face full of bruises, it was really too gruesome. "Not cold? The wind outside the beach is very strong, sister. You'd better stay inside and eat barbecue." After saying that, the wooden door was slammed shut, and there was even the sound of a lock outside. I burst out laughing. That's right, in my past life, I didn't do anything and was forced to death by her, let alone this life where I had tormented her so miserably. I stared at the two shadows still lingering outside the door, pretending to be panicked, running to knock on the door. "Lily, what are you doing? Open the door quickly. Do you know carbon monoxide poisoning can kill people?" In the end, Lily didn't pretend anymore. She burst into crazy laughter, as if she had witnessed me die inside. "Clearly, do you think after you've made me suffer so much, I'll forgive you? In your dreams." My eyes looked down at the burning charcoal pile over there, suddenly smirking. I had never intended to play Lily to death before, but now it was different. This was me fighting back in a justified way, wasn't it? Lily was right, being harmed so miserably. How could it be so easy to forgive? She couldn't forgive, and I, like her, couldn't forgive. Don't even dream of begging others to save you. There's no one here. "Your phone has also been taken away by me, ha ha ha." I was silent for a moment, then asked, "Aren't you afraid of Mom and Dad finding out if you do this? You're not Mom and Dad's biological daughter. If you kill me, can you escape?" The smoke from the charcoal fire became thicker and thicker, and the meat had also been grilled into a pile of black mush. Lily looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. "If Mom and Dad don't forgive me, so what? Just an old couple. Wait until you die, then I'll marry Kevin. By then, their hands can reach into the Kevin family, huh?" Lily's calculation was quite good. I choked on smoke, coughing twice, then gently patted the door. "Let me out, please." "Ha ha ha, it was so hard to trick you, you bitch, into coming in here. You think you can come out just by saying so?" Kevin, what are you doing?" Kevin opened the door for me. In the meantime, Lily desperately snatched for the key, but after snatching for a long time, she couldn't get it, almost falling. As soon as the door was opened, the two people standing at the door were hit by smoke and hurriedly covered their mouths and noses. Lily widened her eyes, staring at me and Kevin. After reacting, she started clawing and tearing crazily. "Kevin, you tricked me. You tricked me. You tricked me. Kevin, you just met this bitch. How can you help her already? Don't you know what I look like now is because of her harm?" Kevin put his hands in his pockets, his face cold. "Do you like this slut?" Lily held herself hoarse, deafeningly loud. Kevin ignored her. She poured all her anger onto my head. "You bitch. You're seducing Kevin, right?" I helplessly spread my hands. "Who wants to seduce him? It's your fiancé who contacted me first. He told me about your plan to kill me here a long time ago." Lily trembled, unable to believe it, looking at Kevin. "Why? Why is this? I treat you so well. Is this how you repay me?" Kevin probably felt he was in the wrong from the start, ignoring Lily's scolding and cursing, not even bothering to say a word back. But then, Lily lost control, slapping Kevin, her fingernails scratching Kevin's face. He furiously kicked, kicking Lily's wheelchair away. "How dare you hit me?" Lily dragged her legs towards Kevin, no different from a devil crawling out of hell, her hair disheveled, her face a mess, ferocious. Kevin couldn't bear it anymore, grabbing her hair. "Look at yourself now. What do you look like? You're like this now, and you still want to marry me? Lily, don't dream anymore, okay? When will your dog brain wake up? Do you think besides you, I can't marry anyone else?" Lily's head was pulled up by Kevin, then shaken down. I averted my eyes, not stopping it nor adding fuel to the fire. All of this was self-inflicted by her. Ah! Ah! Lily painfully screamed, finally being gagged by Kevin, roughly dragging her into the cabin. The charcoal was still burning. What do you want to do? Kevin, if you don't like me, you can cancel the engagement. Let's cancel the engagement. Don't scare me. Clearly, sister, please help me. I want to go home. Please help me one time. Later, I will never go against you again, okay? Lily was forced to lie next to the burning charcoal pile. Due to the smoke, tears and snot flowed together. Kevin stood there, glaring at me. Please, sister, please save me. I turned around and walked away. What did it have to do with me? Looking at Kevin's posture, if I intervened, he might lock me up together with Lily. In fact, the day after returning to the country, Kevin had proactively contacted me. He asked me to cooperate and act in a play with him. It wasn't until the night before our road trip that Kevin told me about Lily's plan. That day was the first time I replied to his message. Why help me? He replied immediately, she's already crippled, and her face is so ugly, I can't swallow it. I chuckled. Mom had said before that the Kevin family wouldn't agree to cancel the engagement. As long as Lily didn't die, even if she became mentally retarded, Kevin would still have to marry her. I threw the dagger tucked at my waist into the sea, then took a taxi home. Lily's ending was probably not very beautiful, but it had nothing to do with me. I didn't kick her when she was down, that was already the end of our relationship. Returning home, my parents were quite surprised to see me. Why are you back so early? Did you two quarrel again? I smiled and shook my head, hugging my arms, rubbing them. Ah, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Going out to play with young lovers, I really can't stand it. Goosebumps all over. I don't want to be a third wheel there anymore. My parents immediately understood and began discussing with me about taking the foreign language proficiency test to prepare for studying abroad. Lily's life is settled like this, only you are we still not at ease with. Anyway, our family doesn't mistreat Lily, and coincidentally, that Kevin boy doesn't dislike Lily either. Wait for them to get married. Mom and Dad will prepare a dowry for the Kevin family. I nodded, for the first time leaning on my mother's shoulder, acting spoiled. Our family finally settled down. I didn't say anything. Was it really settled? The next morning, the police called directly to my house, saying they had discovered a man and a woman in the beachside cabin. After investigation and comparison, they found out the girl was Lily. We rushed to the hospital in a panic. As soon as we stepped into the operating room, the doctor heavily shook his head. Carbon monoxide poisoning. When brought to the hospital, the person was already stiff. My mother staggered, falling into my father's arms. People from the Kevin family also arrived, but luckily, Kevin was fine, transferred to a normal ward. After waking up, the first thing he did was look for Lily. When he heard Lily had died, he murmured, "Impossible," then rushed to the morgue. Finally, the police had to forcibly pull him out. Such a pair of lovers destined but without fate, my parents saw it and shed tears. If I hadn't seen through Kevin's true colors, I might have also believed it. The police immediately suspected me and Kevin. But my parents withdrew the case. They said, when she was alive, Lily was very strong-willed. Now let her rest in peace. The engagement between the Kevin and Lee families was automatically dissolved. However, Kevin even made frivolous remarks to me when the two families were eating together. Although Lily is gone, Claire is also good. My parents tactfully refused immediately. After dinner, Kevin deliberately blocked me at the door of the washroom. Clearly, I've helped you solve a major threat in your heart. Why don't we try? Ha ha. I didn't change expression, opened my mobile phone, and scrolled through a few photos. Kevin playing abroad was really unrestrained, that rich kid playing without any inhibitions. Engaged, yet your mouth is still glued to a Western girl's lips. Does Uncle Kevin know about this? The smile at the corner of Kevin's mouth gradually faded. You investigated me? I put away my phone, smiling, just investigating your background a little. Kevin, get out of the way a bit, understand? Kevin now gritted his teeth, making way for me to pass. A year later, I took excellent grades to study abroad. When saying goodbye to my parents at the airport, both of them cried until their faces were wet. Claire, if you're not used to it abroad, come home, okay? Otherwise, don't study abroad anymore. Our family has enough money for you to spend. You just say you want to stay. I chuckled, for the first time proactively stepped forward to hug my biological parents. The current path is what I spent a lot of effort to get. How can I give up halfway? Parents, I'm about to board the plane. My wonderful life had finally begun.